Okay, we've got one quick session before the coffee, and it's nice because we touched on Bitcoin and crypto. If Richard Crook would like to come up from Richard, I can't in the room. We're now going to go quickly through, speeding up close. Hi, Richard, there you are. How are you?
Very good. Good morning.
Okay. So that was nice. We heard about crypto. We heard about it giving us a new generation of customers. But you actually think people should be using it more and more for transactions?
So I think most of the audience will have come across Bitcoin. Some of them may even own some. But the bigger story for us coming into 2025 is stablecoins. We've got about $200 billion of these stable coins out there. These are tokens issued as a dollar, so we've tokenized the dollar. So you can see them as a digital dollar, if you will. And last year in 2024, actually the amount of payments using stable coins surpassed Visa. So this is kind of more than just a fad or an emerging technology. This is something that's now being adopted throughout the industries that we're working in. And actually, we're seeing people use it for cross-border payments. And I think that's why this audience will be quite interested to hear about this new emerging stablecoin.
And all the talk about Bitcoin and the price is actually negative to your business, isn't it? You want to, stablecoin's completely different. What's the name of one people would know?
So the good examples are Tether, it's probably the big market leader, or Circle, USDC. You sometimes hear it called USDT for Tether and USDC for Circle. I think you're right, Bitcoin for us is a crypto asset and goes up and down as Bitcoin does. But actually for us, these digital dollars, these stable coins, have been used actually in the aviation industry. We've got a long-term partnership with Action Aviation, who've been using those stable coins for payment for their goods and services very successfully.
Yeah, and actually, I know that you signed up a number of charter brokers and operators and Action last year. How are they using them? Is it mainly charter?
So the best example here is, for a lot of people, they're coming from the G7, and they're in a G7 country, and the USD for them, it's like, well, I've got access to that. I can move USD, I can move pounds, I can move euros. I'm not sure what this does for me. Well, you're right. That's absolutely right if you're in the G7. But if you're outside the G7 but inside the G20, your experience is very different. For the people in the G7, you still have difficulties. The weekend, trying to make a payment on the weekend, forget it. Or in any kind of banking holiday. Also, you do experience friction with your movements of payments. But inside the G20 and outside the G7, so in that kind of magic G14 or global south, actually payments and cross-border payments in USD is really hard. And that's where what we're finding with Gaia is a good example. They specialize in aviation payments and cross-border payments. They're using us for those stablecoin payments where they're seeing a much easier way of making the payments.
So if I'm an operator and I have someone reach out and say, I'd rather pay stablecoin, how complicated is it for me to accept it?
Well, the first thing is, people are coming to those operators and those merchants today and saying, hey, I have lifted my wealth into this USDT. I've actually brought my wealth out of my country into USDT or USDC, and I'd like to pay for your goods and services with that. We are, on our side, got a platform that our merchants use. A good example of that is we just recently announced Jetlux. They've come onto our platform. They create a payment link in the fiat currency they want. It could be AED, it could be euros, it could be GBP, it could be USD. And that then gets offered to the client in USDT. The person who's coming with their Tether or their Circle, these stable coins, will receive a payment link, all branded in the colors of Jetlux, as a good example. They make the payment using their wallet. It's instant. It's 24/7. And then we settle the fiat, USD or GBP, to the merchant.
So from the operator point of view, the only difference is that the dollars are coming from you, not from a bank.
Yeah, that's exactly right.
But when we talk about crypto, there's lots of stories of scams and people getting worried, and how do you tell them they can trust you?
Well, from our perspective, Deus XP is a regulated financial services provider. We operate under the same rule book as all the other banks and all the other financial service payment firms that you're currently using. From our clients' perspective, they're looking for a seamless, efficient process. And I think where the real joy of this, when we look at the adoption of stablecoin, why is it being adopted so quickly? Yes, it's faster. You can send it 24/7. It's instant delivery. It's also cheaper. You're getting rid of a lot of the fees. But the real reason that it's starting to emerge is it's safer. So obviously we come, and this is all emerging out of the crypto industry where people are a bit concerned about, but actually when we take it out of the crypto industry and we use it as a mechanism for sending money over the internet, the real safety is in the customer experience. When your clients are trying to send payments to you, you are never sure whether that payment is going to arrive, especially when it's cross-border in the G20. In actual fact, there is a large number of payments that get stopped, held up, and if you're in that G20 and that global south, you're going to be skipping that payment across a series of cross-border correspondent bankings, and each time they could hold it up. Worse, they could hold it up indefinitely and not tell you about it. It's about the worst customer experience we could create. And we skip all of that. So from our perspective, we're still a regulated business. We still have to fulfill the KYC, the AML. We just do that once, and then the payment is made.
Are you seeing traditional financial institutions like banks starting to offer stablecoin, or is it too far away from their core business?
So, yes, we do. We see some of the more leading banks in Switzerland and some of the Europeans are starting to come to this. We're obviously getting regulatory clarity now in the US, and we're starting to see the emergence of some banks, things, but it's a long way off for them. They're still trying to actually improve their own internal systems, and this new stablecoin is an emerging, but yes, there's no doubt that it's on their radar. I think for them it's difficult to enjoy that or gain on that innovation.
And when you talk about crypto, you always think of young guys, mainly guys, wearing T-shirts, using. Is that a fair characterization of your customers? Does it tend to be the younger?
You go across town, there's Token 2049, there's 15,000 of them over there, and I think it's an unfair characterization. I think it's a broader group now, but actually, although born in that industry, and it is native to that industry and tested, battle tested actually in that industry, and it's a great place to test it. When we then come into aviation, and you look at someone like Penn Aviation who've onboarded with us, they want a trusted, regulated financial provider like Deus XP who can onboard them, remove the concerns. And actually from their perspective, they don't want to handle the crypto. They don't want to touch it, in fact. They know the securities issues with it. They want a partner who can take the crypto and then convert it. But it's not just that crypto wealth that came across town that's now coming into private jet. Actually, what we are seeing is a wider adoption of the stable coins in many other industries. So, yes, it was born out of the crypto space, but we're now seeing countries and people who are growing their businesses in countries, lifting their wealth into stable coins and using it as a cross-border mechanism.
You mentioned that stablecoins beat Visa last year. What percentage, when do you think we'll see it taking a significant percentage for private aviation payments?
So I think I'll answer that in two parts. I think the first part is we aren't trying to actually go, from a Deus XP, we're not trying to go head-to-head with Visa. I think buying a cup of coffee with stable coins is a way off, and we don't participate in that. But as soon as you are into a bank payment rather than using a Visa card, that's where Deus XP comes in. I think that's where stablecoins really come into their own. We are seeing, Action Aviation is a pioneer. I would say we've now got Jetlux on board, and we're now seeing that kind of early majority and early adopters coming in. I think we'll see across different industries pioneers and that classic tech adoption across the different industries. Some of the industries like FX, CFD are already into the sort of late majority. We're already seeing that market's already done from a stablecoin adoption. But yes, classic tech adoption curve.
Okay, we've got questions. Can you go back to basics? What is a stablecoin and what makes it different from an unstable coin?
That's great. It's a great way to, thank you very much. So the key point here is that you're very used to Bitcoin. You see it going up and down in price. It's a crypto asset. But actually, what we created in a stable coin is a token that is one-to-one pegged to a dollar. So someone gives Tether a dollar, and Tether then issues a token, a USDT, and that token can now move around the world, be passed between people, be used to charter private jets, and at the end, it then goes back to Tether, and whoever gave the token back to Tether, they get a dollar back. So we've digitized that dollar. So rather than that dollar being moved from bank to bank over SWIFT, what it's actually being done is it's being given to Tether to then be turned into a token, and that token then flies around the world 24/7, instantly moved across the internet.
Someone's saying our clients rarely ask. We rarely get someone for charter, perhaps one per quarter. Can we run a poll? I think I probably should have split lower than 25%. So at the moment, it's still a small amount, but it's not. It doesn't take particularly long. It's not a massive investment for someone to be able to offer this, is it?
No, not from our perspective. We've onboarded, Jetlux is a great example. We onboarded them. We did the KYC. Took us a week. They're on the platform. They can create payment links, and they're accepting stable coins today.
Although someone is saying, what's the rate you charge to convert the USDT? Is it for the providers that sign up with you or the clients? Who pays for it?
So the platform allows the provider to pass on the fees or to accept them themselves. From our perspective, we work with different operators in different industries. Everyone has a different pricing model as to what they want and wish to pass on to the end user.
Okay, we've got a couple of. It's always nice. It's always interesting that some people in the audience, clearly have a lot more experience.
That's okay.
Stefan Craner from Primus is saying, how do you serve the off-ramp compliance issues converting crypto back to fiat? When fiat always makes me think of cars. When you convert crypto back to US dollar or normal currency, at least in the EU, this is getting quite complicated.
Yeah, I can absolutely understand that. We came into this industry because we were approached by aviation operators who wanted to accept crypto, stable coins, but not accept crypto. So we and our platform provides you the ability to accept that crypto, but not actually have to handle the crypto. So when we look at the regulations that are now starting to come into your industry around KYC and AML, actually we can assist with some of that. We don't need to. We can offer it as an extra service, but we're very good at it as a financial service provider. We have to KYC yourselves as we're a financial services operator. We do that well because we operate in a number of high-risk industries. And so when we come into aviation, one of the advantages we have is we have a very slick and efficient process for onboarding you and doing your KYC. We can and do ML KYC on your clients if you want us to. But I think the final point of that, which the regulators are starting to realize, is it's on a blockchain. So these stable coins, we can see the transactions all the way back. So we can see the history of where it's gone from the time it came out of Tether and all the way back. And thus, we do what's called KYT, so know your token. So we actually know the source of the funds and where it's come from. So actually, as you're seeing the rules coming out in Europe around where's the source of funds, the rest of it, we can actually make that easier using the stable coins than actually the old school, where did these dollars or euros come from? So as those rules, those financial service rules, start to leak into your industry, absolutely work with a partner like ourselves to make it easier for yourselves. We can absolutely help you, both on the fiat side, the USD and GBP, and also on the token side.
And Engen's saying, how do clients handle, he's saying the same thing about Middle East banking system. How does adopting stablecoin, and how do clients handle digitized documentation for invoicing and bookkeeping?
So the Middle East is one of our core markets. Dubai is my home market. And actually, we've got a lot of clients here in other industries, not just aviation. The stablecoin comes in, and we then deliver AED straight out to the clients, usually same day. So from our perspective, we're able to deliver into many of the local currencies or into USD. On the digitizing of documents, that is part and parcel of a process we can go through with yourselves as to what documents you're trying to handle, and we can actually get those gathered as the payment is made, as opposed to the payment being some sort of third leg in a conversation.
Which industry is stablecoin most used in?
So we're seeing an early adoption over in super yacht, where people are using it for charter. We're seeing it now very heavily used in real estate. You're getting a lot of the apartments, luxury apartments here in Dubai are starting to be bought in Tether and Circle. We're seeing back in the financial services industry, so not crypto, in the TradFi financial services, people are starting to accept, brokers are accepting stablecoin for their goods and services. So people are trying to invest.
And you mentioned you're regulated. Who is your regulator and where are you based?
So currently we're regulated in Lithuania. We have a VASP license, virtual asset service provision. That puts us under the EU MiCA, gives us very strong banking. And we've now got our VARA in principle here in Dubai. So from our perspective, we're covered, and we're continuing to gain licenses where we need them. The latest one I think my team have picked up is a Canadian MSB, which gives us more payment capability.
I think you said you could do this. You can add a markup onto the payment itself to act as an additional revenue stream for offering.
Thank you very much for that question. Yes, the answer is the platform allows you to add further fees on top of that as an extra revenue. So the answer is yes.
And John is asking a very basic question I think everyone in the room understands. Will ISO 2022 move payments towards compliant stablecoins like RLUSD on the XRP ledger?
Oh, there's someone who's been around.
I know, exactly.
There's someone who's been around for a while. A horrible question to finish on. The ISO 222 is about creating standards in the old payment platforms. So SWIFT, STEP, Target, faster payments in the UK. Doesn't matter where you go in the world, that ISO 222 comes up over and over again because it's making sure that the front door is the same standard. The same as when you get in a car pretty much around the world, it looks about the same. Yeah, they might put the indicators on the wrong side or whatever, but for an Englishman, but actually they're pretty standard. What we are doing right now is creating an alternative payment mechanism. And yes, these standards that the question asks for may get applied later or rapidly quickly, but we don't need them. What we really need is the old school payment systems to rapidly evolve, to recognize that we now need payments to be 24/7 and instant, and without that horrible customer experience of your payment being caught somewhere in a correspondent bank, where if you're out here in the G20, you probably are skipping 4 to 6 correspondent banks, running a roulette of where's my payment today.
I still think it's great that John, I thought ISO was about film quality. Thank you, that was great. Thank you very much for that, Richard. And morning coffee hosted by Boeing Business Jets is outside. Thank you.